everybody? Back for another episode of Beyond the Field podcast. You can find it on Spotify, YouTube. Maybe one day we'll even get it on Apple Podcasts. I've been slacking on that. I tried in the beginning, and it just completely did not let me do it, and it really frustrated me.
Spotify's the way to go, though. Anyway, so I don't even think we need to put it on Apple.
Yeah. I tried literally. I think I put like 2 or 3 hours of trying to put it on Apple Podcasts, and everything was right. Besides, I couldn't upload the clip art of the podcast page, and it like was saying that something was off. And I tried a million different ways of fixing it. Wasn't working. Was on the verge of throwing my laptop off my balcony on the 3rd floor here, and I let it be for now. But find it on Spotify, YouTube. So today we have a little bit different of an episode. It's just going to be me, Niko, Marc, talking a little bit about Elevate's story, all of our own stories. We were trying to find someone to interview this week. It didn't really work out with a bunch of different schedules. We have a bunch scheduled for next week, so we'll be stocked up with interviews. Thank you guys all so much for the beginning support that we're getting. Keep sharing, liking, subscribing, and let's get into it a little bit. So Niko's the CEO of Elevate, and he started this all before me and Marc, before we even knew what was going on with Elevate. Niko had already been creating a business. And Niko, you want to tell the listeners a little bit of how Elevate started and how you got into it?
Yeah, so it all started back when quarantine hit. And I got home from quarantine, and I was looking for something to do, something that I could spend my time, just have more purpose to the time I was spending besides like playing video games or, just doing the same things every day pretty much. And I decided to start a podcast. It was called Chainlink Sports Talk. I'm sure it's still on Spotify and Apple. The interviews are terrible. So,
you can find me on one of those interviews when I was not even a Division I baseball player over at Iona, but Niko interviewed me, Marc, and Ryan Ramsey, who we should be having on next week, which will be great. And
Jack Brodsky was on that episode too.
Yeah.
So that's how I met you guys. I don't know if I've ever met you guys before that, but that's definitely the first time we ever like really spoke.
And I might have mentioned at PS2, but I honestly have no idea. I don't know.
I probably have. Yeah, I probably saw you at PS2, or we probably crossed paths or something playing baseball against each other. But yeah, so I interviewed you guys. That was one of the episodes. Chainlink Sports Talk was intended for me to network with people in the sports industry, because at the time the quarantine hit, I was a freshman in college, and I was just like, all right, like I'm in college now. I gotta start looking for internships. I gotta start, preparing myself for after college. And so
very mature of a freshman in college, by the way, not to yank your chain too much.
Well, yeah, it was a mature decision. It was also a lot of like my parents too. Like, okay, so what are you gonna do? Like when are you gonna what's your job gonna be? Like when are you gonna get an internship? What's this gonna be like? And I was like, all right. And they so I always had it in me, but they definitely pulled it out of me a little bit more, especially like at a time like that, it could have very easily, I could have very easily been very lazy and just, play video games all day, which I still did to some extent. But once the podcast got going and I really started to like it, that took up a lot of my time and doing social media pages for it, video editing, all that stuff. So I started the podcast to network with people, and I did. Networked a lot. I got my first internship out of it. My internship with Vayner Sports, and that was really cool to work with AJ Vaynerchuk over there. He was very good to me. That was a great experience. And then, probably about 5 or 6 months into the podcast, I decided I wanted to just like do something more. And I always wanted to be an agent. I always wanted to work with athletes. And Trevor Bauer was recording his entire COVID season during 2020. He would show everyone like the day-to-day proceedings about the COVID testings and everything. And he was giving everyone like an inside scoop to everything that was going on inside the clubhouse and all this stuff. And, I have mixed feelings about Trevor now, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But at the time I was like, damn, like one, this content is great. And Trevor, he had a lot of other videos about how athletes should be marketing themselves and how they could use social media content as leverage to do a whole bunch of shit like in their careers. And I'm like, I could take videos of guys that I know and cut it up and send it to companies. Like, who knows? Like, maybe I can even get like some deals out of it. I could definitely do that. And I had connections with some pretty high caliber players through high school and just playing baseball and stuff like that. So that's really when my company started, and I just kind of dove right into it. Tommy Barbella from PS2, he runs his own sports agency now. He's not really a part of Elevate anymore, but he was a lot of help in the beginning, getting the LLC set up and all the documents. So always really thankful for Tommy. But yeah, and like I just kind of like went right for it. Like I made a website, I made social media pages, I started recruiting athletes, and I just kind of just started like doing things. I just started like finding like photographers and video guys and taking pictures and making all these like graphic designs on Canva and stuff like that. And I like it was a good start, but I would also recommend for people to like do like the back end work of things, because I was such a fucking mess with my paperworks and about learning about business finances and LLCs and all the back office stuff that I should have been doing, like all that preparation work. I was like, because I'm so impatient and I've gotten better, but it's still very impatient. So I was like, no, like, I want to do this. Like I have this great logo, I have this great idea, I have all these great guys who want to be a part of this. I'm like, so I'm just gonna go do it. So that's why I did. I did it, really not having any sort of organizational skills with anything involved in it, but that was really it. And I was making a lot of guys content. And what I thought in the beginning, how Elevate was going to be, was that each athlete would have their own unique type of content, whether guys had a podcast, whether guys did vlogs, whether guys did like video breakdowns of their swings, whether guys, whatever, like just each guy should have their own piece of content. And that was going to be the way for them to grow their name and their brand. And that was very foolish of me to think that everyone was going to be a social media guy. Everyone would want to record themselves, like, and that is not how it is at all.
Yeah.
Struggling a lot. And I was even like probably like pushing and prying a little bit too much because I had this idea of what I wanted my business to be. But and it's like I still had good athletes and I still had guys that I wanted to work with. I just had to readjust and understand that not everyone was going to, fall in line with what I thought it was going to be at first.
Yeah.
So pretty much after that, it was gonna be okay. Listen, if guys, if people are content guys, they're content guys. If not, then I'm just gonna start reaching out to companies for them and just like try and help them grow their name in other ways. Which that could be making them a logo, that could be helping them make merchandise, that could be, this podcast is very recent, but doing something like this podcast where we can get our players on a podcast and get them to open up a little bit about who they are and start posting clips on our main page that has a decent following now. So I had to readjust there, which it wasn't like a major like readjustment. It was just me doing it pretty much, but also like throughout that process, I don't want to forget Jake, Jake Geddes. Jake is me and Jake think alike, and Jake is like, he's always wanted to be a sports agent. He was also a college baseball player. I was a sophomore at the time, and Jake was a senior, I think, at
Dickinson or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was there as a D3 school. I was also playing D3 ball. And Jake's from Connecticut. He was working at Advanced Therapy and Performance, which is Josh Heenan's gym. He's the guy who does the 90-mile-per-hour formula stuff. And Jake killed it for Dr. Heenan doing all his marketing and social media stuff. And Jake had access to a lot of pro baseball players. And he saw me on LinkedIn posting about Elevate. He goes, hey, man, like this is really cool. Really, props to you for starting your own thing. I have access to guys. I know some brands, like, let's work together. And I did quote unquote, like research on Jake, but I mean, he kind of sold himself pretty well. And after a couple phone calls, I was like, I think I could work with this kid. Like, this seems pretty good. So me and Jake started grinding at things. He brought on Simon Whiteman. He brought on Emmett Sheehan. Those were his two main guys he brought in. He's brought in some other guys here and there, and so have I, that just haven't worked out. And yeah, so that's how me and Jake started working together. It was kind of a two-man show for a little bit. This started in the winter of my sophomore year of college. So going into my spring season, which, I was back at school in the fall, my school kept us all home. So I had a lot of time to work my business because I was home for an entire semester. So I go back and I'm in the middle of a college baseball season, and I start working with Rachel Balkovic from the New York Yankees. And at the time I was still doing my podcast. So I met Rachel through my podcast. we start talking, and this is like my first like big client, first female hitting coach in baseball, or like whatever record she broke, and she's broken other records since. But like we got to talking after the podcast, and she's like, oh, you do your own media company? She's like, wait, like, are you in your dorm room right now? Like, wait, what's going on? She's like looking around my camera because we were on a Zoom. She's like, what? She's like, what is going on here? Like, what's going? And I explained to her everything. And she's like, that's fucking awesome. Let's set up a call. I want you to pitch me, because she was looking for a company to work with. So I pitch her. And funny thing is that she hated my idea for a pitch. I made her a logo, and I pretty much gave her the same kind of format as everyone else, which for me, I should be like, what are you looking for? Or I should be like, here's what we offer, but what are you looking for? It was more like, I was like, here's what we can do for you, and here's how we're going to do it, which I guess, as I'm saying now, it doesn't sound too bad, but I guess I didn't leave too many options for her, because she could have wanted anything to be done with her career. And it was funny that she just scratched everything, but she still wanted to work with me and Jake because she loved the fact that we were college kids just grinding in our dorm rooms, trying to build this business out of nothing. And it's still very small, but it's definitely grown since then. But I started working with Rachel. She is now with CAA, which is the biggest sports agency in the world, biggest entertainment agency in the world. So, Rachel was great to me. I was so honored that she would even allow me to work with her. And that was a great experience. I've also worked with guys like Jahan Malloy, who's going to be in the big league soon with the Tigers. Robbie Rowe, who is a big time social media influencer, and just other pro baseball players. And it's really been a really cool journey so far. I don't think I left out any pieces, but that's kind of the whole like synopsis and beginning. And then for the past 6 months or so, us three have been working together. Jake's kind of been in and out because he's had other job opportunities come up, and it's hard for him to balance. So I definitely respect that. And Jake, like he's helped me out so much that he's always welcome here in my eyes. So but yeah, like the past 6 months, us three have been kind of grinding at the business and doing our thing as well. So yeah, that's
no, that sums up a good portion of probably what the listeners are trying to figure out sometimes, what Elevate is. Sometimes when I'm talking to people that I work with Elevate, it is a little difficult to fully explain because we all three of us want to become sports agents at some point in our life. And right now it's just we don't have the access to do that right at this second. But in the future, hopefully turning Elevate into a full functioning sports agency once we build our relationships with players, build our relationships with MLB organizations, and just grow our connections. That's why I wanted to start this podcast and really get it going, because regardless of how many people listen each week, we post those reels on Instagram, and they're getting thousands of views each week, and it's just growing our name a little bit at a time. I wanted to mention coming up on April 15th, we're going to have a story aired on Elevate. It's going to be through the Tampa Bay Channel 9, I believe, news. Kenny Morales is putting it together. He came, filmed some of my practice at Tampa here the other day, and I met him at a charity event one night, and he was super cool. We were hanging out, and I told him a little bit about Elevate, and he was like, dude, can I do a story on you guys? Like, this is really cool stuff. Like, basically exactly what you were saying about Rachel Balkovic. Like, he was just very interested in, college kids grinding for their dream. And I remember calling Niko one time because I'm pretty big on LinkedIn, and I just love messaging people who are in the sports industry. And I messaged Niko. We knew of each other. We did the podcast together. I think I even had your number. We've played against each other. And I was like, so tell me about Elevate and what are your goals for it in the future? And we talked on the phone. I think, Niko, our first phone call was like 45 minutes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, let's get lunch, because I was coming home for winter break. Went and got lunch with Niko at Sushi Village. And, we hit it off, and no sexual relationships, but we knew that we could work together. And we knew we could.
Don't lie.
We knew that we could keep growing a business together that will really help us build a foundation for something in the future that might turn into hopefully something huge. And Marc, being my neighbor and one of my best friends, I was like, Marc, let me call Marc, tell him what's going on. Marc's been someone who I feel like I can call him most times in my life. He'll pick up and he'll basically do whatever we need to do together and figure shit out together. So that's how we got Marc over here, and we got a bunch of cool things going on. I'm hoping to get Oswaldo Cabrera on this podcast soon. I'm hoping to get Kevin Kiermaier.
Adam White.
Adam
White also. The guy front office.
Oh yeah, front office.
Yeah, I could ask him. I just thought to text Rachel. So when we're done with this, I'll shoot her a text.
Let's get Rachel back on.
Yeah,
that'd be sick.
Because what the plan was with Rachel was that she wanted to do a podcast, and like her goal was also to network with people because she wanted to become like she wants to move away from the whole coaching and like hitting and lifting stuff, and she wants to become like a operations person. She wants to be like a GM. She wants to be like a front office person. So that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to speak with agents. She wanted to meet with like team owners and presidents, and we actually. So like we had like 3 episodes recorded of this. We had like Rachel Luba, which is Trevor Bauer's agent. We had the guy who runs the Savannah Bananas, Jesse something. I don't know his title on the team, but he like kind of runs the team over there. And then we had other interviews lined up with like a VP from Vayner Sports and like the GM from some hockey team. And it was like lining up. We're like, damn, like she's getting great guests. Like, and me and Jake were like, yeah, we'll fucking like edit this for you. Like, this is so cool. Like, and it would have been great content for us to post too. But what happened was that the Yankees have a lot of like unwritten rules about how you need to like conduct yourself and all these things. And Rachel wasn't doing anything wrong, but she just like, she was still like very low on the totem pole there. And she didn't want to rub anyone the wrong way by like doing all these podcasts and social media stuff. So it just kind of fell by the wayside on top of her not really having a lot of time. But
I think kind of going back to what you said before, or Paul said before also, like how she kind of loved how you were college kids and she loved like the idea of all of us getting after it being so young. Like I feel like it's like a blessing in disguise almost for us, because it is awesome. I feel like brands and everybody loves seeing like all these college kids are getting after right now, but at the same time brands see here are these college kids who are starting a business.
Yeah, I don't want to work with them.
Kind of skeptical. I think that's probably one of our main problem. Not like it's not even a problem right now, but like
that it is like a slight problem, because we don't get responses because nobody knows who the fuck we are. Exactly. There's a quote from Entourage. I don't know if you guys have seen that show.
Oh my god, that show is why I want to become an agent.
Well, so Ari's talking to E, and E's like, yeah, this lady won't return my phone calls, and Ari's like, yeah, because she doesn't know who the fuck you are.
Yeah,
everyone knows who I am.
How it is. That literally is how it is.
Yeah, and whenever I don't get a response, I hear Ari Gold's voice in my head, like, nobody knows who you are every time.
And we're trying. We're grinding. It's like something that I want to have on record is we are all either I'm currently an athlete. Marc played at Rowan, was an athlete his whole life. Niko played at St. Rose, athlete his whole life. We are athletes trying to work for and work with athletes, because we know what we would like from the athlete's perspective. So it's like we have been a part of sports. We know how to interact with people who love sports, who know, what the grind is like every single day. And we know, like, not everyone is going to be social media people. Not everyone is going to be, able to text us all the time, keep us in the loop. But we know exactly, how to build relationships with these people. And I think that's been our strongest suit, is building relationships with our athletes and keeping, good ones around and having a lot of fun while doing it.
It's also like a trust thing for some of our guys that we're working with right now. Like, I mean, I would love to say I'm a professional level athlete, but if I was to have an agent, I would rather it be somebody who knows the game and knows what they're talking about and knows the everyday life from being on the field, off the field, what you actually have to get done. Like, I would rather have somebody that has been out there and knows what they're doing rather than not.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, like a lot of times because I think when you speak with athletes and people at companies, it's a little bit different, because when I speak with a lot of players, I'm always like straight up with people. Like I almost lead off with like, listen, I just want to let you know I'm still like kind of a kid. I'm still in college. Like I got this and that going on for me. Like don't think I'm some like hotshot CEO or whatever it is, like regardless of what it says on my resume or LinkedIn. But I'm like, look, I'm still playing college baseball, and a lot of them are, at least the athletes are very impressed. Like, oh wow, you have that going on, and you could still do, and like you could still do the business and stuff like that. So I think the athletes almost respond a little bit better to it. And there have been plenty of companies who really like it, and that's kind of the reason why they get back to me or you guys so fast, because they're like, damn, like respect, okay, like let me shoot this kid an email real quick. So I think it was 50-50, but I think it's much more receptive on the athlete side, kind of like what you were saying, Mark.
100%.
Something I want to point out too is like, it's not like we're over here making money off these athletes yet. We are doing this all in our free time. We come together, record a podcast every week. I edit it, post the clips, get it all out. I'm slowly starting to try and hire people to help me do this, so I have more time to build relationships with athletes and build, the company with you guys. But I mean, Mark just came from his other job that he works from, 9 to 5. We find time to get together and keep growing a business that we feel so strongly about. Well, we're not even getting paid doing it right now. We just enjoy doing it. We're having a really fun time. Like, I mean, our relationships have continued to grow since we started working together 6 months ago. And like, these are going to be lifetime memories and lifetime bonds that we're building with each other and with the athletes. And that's, sometimes more than what money is. Sometimes it's more than what money is worth.
It keeps us busy also. It definitely keeps us busy. I mean, like you said before, I did play college baseball for my first 3 years of college right now, and now I don't play, and the amount of free time that I have is ridiculous. Like, if I didn't have this, I feel like I would be losing my mind. Like I had chicken without a head or something. But like it really does help, and I think it's cool, like all of us, how we make it work, because we've been doing this for 6 months or so now, and we're still going with it. Like, we easily could have fumbled over and be like, not today, but like we're all somehow finding a way to make it work. And I think that that's how we're going to keep going as we progress.
Yeah. And you know what's funny too, Paul? Like right before me and you got that lunch, or like very soon before, I was talking to my dad. And like, Dad, like I think I kind of want to like either take a break or walk away from Elevate. And he's like, why? And look, I feel like I've been like in a serious rut. I haven't really gotten any concrete work done. And that was, it was because like me and Jake weren't able to like communicate as much because of me in school, and Jake is getting his master's while working a job. And it was no one's fault. It was just like life getting in the way. And, on top of like, I don't really, and I'll say this anyway, I don't really know how to run a business, like, because like I've been in, interviews for internships, or I've been in offices, and there's all these like writing on boards and like information. I'm like, wow, I'm like, I don't know what any of this means, but I'm like, this looks like it makes sense. And it's like everything is done with a purpose, and that was also a reason, like, I told that to my dad. I'm like, Dad, I don't even know like what the fuck I'm doing. Like it's just me like sending emails and making graphics, and which is fine, but I just don't know how to get out of this rut. And what I really wanted to do was, I was like, maybe I'll just, walk away from it, or I'll give it up for now, and I'll go get a job at an agency, and I'll get like a couple years of experience, and then I want to branch off my own again, because like we all talk about it, we don't want to work for anyone else. We want to do our own thing. We want to kind of pave our own path. So and like I never lost that spirit. It was more of just like I just didn't see the business really going anywhere from where I was at. And then on top of like some of the athletes like having agents, so there were some restrictions there of the kind of work I could do, or some deals that were getting blocked, which is fine. Like the athletes and the agents have every right to do that. But again, like it was just like I just felt stuck. And ironically enough, like Paul, me and you sat down, and I got like that jolt again, because I'm like, damn, I'm like, maybe Paul can bring something here that could change things. Maybe it could turn it around. Then you intro me to, I mean, you didn't, I knew Mark, but then like us three are talking, I'm like, fuck, okay, like if us three can do something, then maybe I'll, stick around a little bit longer. But it's definitely been, it's been great since you guys have come on.
And here we are.
Yeah. Something that's I kind of live by is no one knows what they're doing in this world. Everyone is learning as they go. Some people have an idea more than others, obviously, but like, who's to say we're not running a business like we should? We're running a business. We're having fun doing it. And that's what it is, like we are creating a life that we want to live, and, something that we all enjoy doing.
Kind of like what we were talking about before, just while we were texting in the group chat. I mean, what we were saying before, I was like, Yeah, man, I don't really want to be at work right now. I can't stand working for somebody else. Working this 9 to 5, it's repetitive, it's insanity, it's crazy. Like I would rather just work for myself like we're doing right now and like have the life that we want, but we're not there in our careers yet. We still have a lot of time to work and a lot of things to improve on, but we're making the decisions for us. We're doing what we want to do. We're not doing what everybody is telling us we should do, which I
Yeah.
think is the best part about this for me at least.
Yeah.
Something that's really new and interesting too is all these NIL laws and deals that college athletes are allowed to make money off their name now. This is something that hasn't been there in the past, and every sports agent I've connected with, they're like, try to find a way to hammer out some sort of idea where you start taking over that NIL space. And that's what we've been trying
Yeah,
to
I've
do.
heard that too.
Marc is huge in sending emails and trying to connect our athletes with brands. And something we're running into a little bit of an issue is a lot of brands want, 10K plus followers. And, it's not everything. We talk about social media and mental health and that stuff, but it is important when trying to get NIL deals, and it's something that we're trying to preach to our athletes: being more active on socials, getting more clicks, more views, more followers. It just opens up more doors in the future for them to work with more companies as their career keeps moving forward.
Yeah, and another thing that has like further kind of like legitimized our process here is that when those laws got passed for the name, image, and likeness, I just made like a college page and I just said like elevate NIL because like Barstool came up with something. I'm like, all right, like again, my inexperience, me not really know what I'm doing. Okay, all right, I'm just gonna make this, and this will be my college page, and but I didn't really have like a plan with it, and like it didn't really make much sense. But now with our strategy of reaching out to businesses around campuses and trying to hit that small market to break in, I I love that idea. I think, just the more we hammer out with it and the more markets that we see that are receptive to this will help us because at first, because I mean I've called a bunch of businesses and they're like, yeah, sorry, no, or what, I don't get it. Like also, who are you? Like, what's your business? I don't like they're not like listening to what I'm saying because they're so confused on like who I am or why I'm even calling, and look, I don't blame them. Like also maybe there's a line of customers in their store and they don't really have time to be speaking to me now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I think that's just, that's going to come a time for us to understand what works and what doesn't work. But, like I said, like that's just another facet of how much it's improved because we actually have like an idea of what we want to do with that, at least.
Yeah. Having an email that we're able to send out. We make media kits for these athletes. So when the companies are trying to decide whether they want to work with the athlete or not, we can fire over an athlete media kit, tells them a little bit more about the athlete, what they like to do, all their social handles on it. So, any athlete that's listening to this or people that know athletes, send them our way. We'll have a conversation with them. We'll tell them a little more about what we do, and we'll try to figure out if they will be a good fit in our company. We try not to over recruit too many athletes at the same time because we want to do good work for the athletes we have. But building a community of athletes where we all market each other, we're all in it together, like, is something that's very cool, and something like we have a group me with all of our college guys and we send, our discount codes that we're getting them, or different things each week. And it's something that, like, if we didn't have this company behind us, people would be like, all right, why are you making this group chat with a bunch of different college athletes in it? But now that we have, a business backing our ideas, it's like, hey, let us do some work for you. Let's create a community and everyone will benefit from it in some way or another.
Yeah. Well, so Paul and Mark, you guys should go into like kind of how you guys understood like what you wanted to do and kind of why like you're doing this right now. And I guess like because Paul, I know like when me and you spoke at first, like it was like, hey, like I think I'm starting to get into the sports agency stuff. I'm starting to get my interest peaked. Because like for me, that's like what I've wanted to do since I was like a freshman in high school. So me, I was always like dead set on this path, but kind of go into how you guys got started on
Yeah.
it.
So I'll go a little bit. Just so I was, growing up playing baseball my whole life. It's been, I've never really had to work a job. My mom, dad blessed me with a great life. And, I had the ability to chase my dream and go play Division I baseball. And that's a commitment. That's a job within itself. So I never really thought too much post college what I was going to do. A little freshman, sophomore at a D1 school was throwing a decent amount of innings. Like, hey, I'm going to the league. Like that's, hopefully the dream. And obviously that slowly starts to dwindle and I can't break 90 miles an hour. So, not going to be lighting up any scout radar guns. And I'm like, all right, let me figure out what I want to do. Started working an internship with LAA Sport and Entertainment. Joe Curtis gave me a great opportunity. A family friend, Jenna DeTore, her fiance, Mike, got me in contact with Joe. And I started working behind the scenes for them. They're big in football. They represent guys like Dalvin Cook, J.K. Dobbins, bigger in the football side of things. And I was working in their smaller startup baseball side, and they had some players, and I was doing some work for them behind the scenes. And it just wasn't super, I wasn't really benefiting as my career as much as I wanted to. I only worked there for 2 or 3 months, but I didn't really see much room for growth within that company. But then I really started to get the love for sports agency, and I thought maybe I wanted to do some coaching for a little bit, but I know the lifestyle I like to live, and there's not a lot of money in coaching in the beginning, and that was a difficult decision for me. But I don't close any doors. I like connecting with coaches, agents, and just learning from everyone else's experience. Part of the reason we started this podcast is everyone has their own story. So, being able to be a sports agent and make meaningful relationships with my athletes and help them make a dream of making it to the MLB, having their own logo, all this stuff that I, didn't fully get to experience, it will make me just as happy helping them out. So I think that's why I really wanted to get into it. And who knows what the future holds, but it's something right now that I have a lot of fun doing. So I'm going to keep doing it.
100%. And I'll just follow that up with kind of my story throughout all of this. So I grew up playing baseball. Also, I played with Paul since I was in kindergarten, probably maybe first grade, somewhere around there, but always knew that I was going to go to school for baseball in high school. I mean, it kind of helped. We had a winning program in high school, which definitely kind of made me love the game a little bit more, to see how it was actually supposed to be played. I applied to one school, Rowan, for baseball. I didn't apply to any other schools. Came here, and then I kind of started to not dwindle, but baseball wasn't really going my way for a while. And whatever happened, I was just kind of going after it, and I decided, it's time to hang him up my junior year. We won a regional, we won NJAX, whatever. I decided that I wanted to pursue other things, and thank God that this came along, because this is exactly the type of other thing that I was looking for when I stopped. But stopped last year in the spring. Had no idea what to do with myself in the fall, because this was the first time in my whole life that I was living my life without playing baseball and out having practice every single day, which left me with a shit ton of free time that I had no idea what to do with. So I just kind of got a job, was kind of struggling a little bit with my mental in the fall and winter. Definitely was kind of not in the right headspace for a while, and was kind of slugging, whatever. And then when you reach out to me, Paul, about this, I mean, I had seen Chain Link Sports back during COVID when all that was happening. I was like, damn, that's sick, because I know that you were talking to me about it, and you were telling me what was going on with it. But so once we had our first meeting, I was going to bring it up also, that the first 2 or 3 meetings that we had were hilarious. They were sick. We were talking, I feel like we were just sitting there. We were like, well, what about this? Well, what about this?
We
do everything. We could literally do everything. And kind of I don't know, from that point on, I was just I have way too much free time on my hands, and I work at an orthodontist right now, which if anybody at the orthodontist is listening to this, I love the job there, but it's insanity and it's kind of boring. And I needed something else. And then this came along, and we started thinking about, Paul, remember, you too, Niko, remember when we first came up with the intern idea, using interns for coaches? We were sitting,
our minds blew up. We were like, oh my God, it's a good idea.
We were like, holy shit.
We can post on LinkedIn and people will apply to our company.
We were like, we can hire somebody. We can literally hire somebody for an internship. And I just thought, I don't know, I kind of fell in love with it from there. But I also it was interesting because I interned at MLB in the MLB headquarters the last summer. It was like it was the coolest shit ever. Like I met some people that I should just simply have never met. Like I shouldn't have shook Raul Ibanez's hand. Like there's no way that I should have done that. But like it was cool. But working there, it's very corporate. It's very everybody's in a suit and tie every day. You got to go sit through long meetings and like it was very like working at the best internship that I feel like anybody could possibly get being a baseball player. I was like, I still can't see myself coming in every day like this and working on that type of schedule. And that's why this is so like important to me on my personal list, is because when this gets to where we want it to be, then we work for ourselves and we can live the lives that we want and we can hire people and pay them. Isn't that crazy? Like we can hire people ourselves. Like that's nuts to me.
Yeah. Once we start
and
getting
that's
our first big athlete and they sign a multi-million-dollar contract and we help them get there, we were by their side every step of the way. And we get some money to start paying some people to work for us. It's going to be a really cool feeling.
And Mark, you know what's funny about that? So I was recently in the running for an internship at William Morris Endeavor, which was recently ranked as the number 3 most valuable sports agency by Forbes. And you know, this opportunity came across me randomly. I was eating in the dining hall with some of my teammates, and I got this text, and it was like, "Hey, this is Joshua from William Morris Endeavor. Like, would love to speak with you about this role that you applied for." I don't remember when I applied. I think it was so long ago. But I was like, "Oh my God, holy shit. Like, this is like the opportunity I've always wanted." Like, it was in a baseball division working with agents. I was like, man, this is sweet. And I've already committed to a different internship in the financial world because I want to diversify my portfolio a little bit and to just learn about other things besides sports. Obviously, sports is what I want to do, but you know, because I wasn't hearing back from any like sports places. And this internship is very like kind of on my own time. Like the job itself is very like you kind of work for yourself while like working for a company, but it's all like sales, it's all commission. It's very like you just have to learn the industry and you'll get a knack for it. That's kind of the best way I can explain it without talking about it for like 45 minutes. But then I was talking to my parents and I was like, listen, like I don't know what to do. I'm like, this is like my dream internship role, you know? And my mom was like, listen, Niko, like you really want to join the rat race? You really want to hop on the train in New York City every day and put on a fucking this and do this and do this and do this. And Mark, like it's kind of what you were saying, like, you know, and then what my dad was saying was like, don't chase that title, don't chase that like William Morris Endeavor. Because at the end of the day, you could be hired by William Morris Endeavor and you could just be some random schmuck sitting in their office and no one's really going to give a shit what your title is at that company.
Exactly.
And I think it's hard for us who have such big aspirations and things like that to like see past that right now. But I think that that's a really important thing because, and that's also like the beauty of internships, because Mark, you did that and maybe you realize, listen, like I'm not built for the corporate world, or maybe I just, not that you're not built for it, but it's like, this isn't me.
Not
like,
what I want.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's not what I wanted. Like it was awesome. Like I was going in every day. Like I was looking nice. Like I felt like the man. I was walking in the city and everything. I go out and I'm sitting at my desk and I see CC Sabathia walk by. Like, and I'm like, that is sick. Like, that's fucking, like, I'm sitting there. And then, like, the one day I literally ate lunch at the table next to Corbin Burns. And I'm like, this is ridiculous, but I can't do this every day. I can't come in because
you want to be that Corbin Burns. You don't want to be.
That's what I'm saying. I want to be
intern.
Corbin Burns' agent sitting there eating with him, like something like that, which is like, and it's also like for like MLB and a lot of other agencies, I feel like it's slow. Like when I was talking to all the people that work there, all the people that work at MLB have been there for my boss was there for 30 years. And you, like, it's like they don't hire you right out. And then it's just like you go somewhere, get experience, you stay at that position for 3 years, then you get to the next position for 3 years, you get to the next, and you're still like, it's like a fucking rat race. Like, I'm like, that's not what I wanted. And that's what hopefully we can turn this into something a little bit more fun like that.
Yeah. So I think we could sit here and talk all day about this, and I would love to. I did want to keep this episode a little shorter for the listeners, you know, just a brief elevate intro. We're going to have this throughout. We keep running the podcast. Whenever we can't get an interviewee on, get on, reconvene with you guys, let you guys know what's been going on behind the scenes. I really liked how this first episode of Just Us went. Really, really cool to tell these stories. And I hope everyone can can learn from it and maybe even start spreading the word for us a little more. April 15th, we'll be posting on the socials about it. One of the stories down here in the Tampa Bay News will be released.
Paul, I can't wait. I can't wait to see you on the news. You're like, yeah, I've been running this business for the past 2 years. It's been difficult, but
yeah, no, I took all of the credit. I never mentioned Niko's name once. It's incredible. I am the CEO. So I do want to end this though with a little scratch off. I know we don't have
let's go
interview on, but if we win this scratch off, we don't have to share the money with anyone. It goes right to Elevate. So I'm gonna scratch it off real quick. Let's see. Our winning numbers are 4 and 7. That's what numbers we're rooting for here.
Let's go.
And we do not see a 4 or 7 on this scratch off, sadly.
No money for Elevate.
We will win this one time. Listeners, if you've made it to the end of this pod, thank you guys for listening. We will be back next week with a great interview with Ryan Ramsey. Also have another interview with Josh Cohen coming up, pitcher for UConn baseball, and I'm sure many more. So thank you guys, and Elevate signing off.
Let's go.